I knew him as Solus. Smart, thoughtful, loved to hear himself talk. But long ago, he had a different name. The Dreadwolf. Ancient elven god of lies, or heroic rebel against tyranny, depending on which story you believe. In his desperate fight against the corrupt elven gods, Solus imprisoned them, creating a veil that split our world from the raw magic of the Fade. He had won. But the veil cost the elves everything. Their magic, their freedom, even their immortality. Now, Solus wants to tear down that veil and undo the damage he caused, even if that means our world has to burn. Somebody's gotta stop him, and that's where you come in.
So, oh, I'm so excited. So, one thing I like about I love dwarven lore, but I want to see if I can create like let's see if I can create a Kunari who resembles like the Dragon Age 2 Kunari style. Anyway, what I was saying was I love how when Varric was talking about I like the Asian style, yeah, because I'm Asian, so I just like playing like that. I like how when Varric was talking about Solus basically jailing the Evanurus in the Fade. I'm going to remove all the tattoos and hair and stuff so I can focus on the face first. And the horns, I guess. I'll choose a small one. When Varric was talking about Solus trapping the Evanurus in the Fade, the sound effect sounded almost like the bars of a jail cell slamming closed, like or something like that. I'm not a default. Yeah, why not? I'm not that great with imitating sound effects, but yeah, this looks pretty Asian. Skin tone. Ooh, this is like green. Like I've seen Tash in the. I haven't watched any trailer or anything, not since the gameplay trailer. So I think that's everything up until Dragon Age Day last year, and then 2 trailers this year. Oh, blue! So I know Tash is like a green undertone. So I'm gonna go for more of a gray, like a blue gray. Ooh, yeah. Blue gray. Grayer, less blue. This looks fine. And then make it like the Arashock's complexion. Whoa, it's really blue. Why is it so blue? Is it like I guess the lower half of the face, it's kind of like when you're a guy and you wanna when you like recently shave, you can see where the hair is supposed to grow out of your skin. Like you can just tell. I wonder if weathered is like the unbiased term for old. But I do like how like the pronounced shadows on the face. That's like artistic almost. I like that. Okay, so the eyebrow. In fact, let me select an eyebrow first before I edit the brow itself because I think that will affect how she looks like. You know, when you're like a cartoon animator and you're asked to humanize a subject that doesn't naturally have a human face, usually you end up adding eyebrows or manipulating something about that subject where you have something that imitates eyebrows. So you kind of see that with Wall-E. And I mean, even if you just look at Mickey Mouse, the black shape around his face acts as eyebrows for him. so that he can emote. And eyebrows, people say eyes are the windows to the soul, but what they really mean, in my opinion, is eyebrows. Eyebrows are the center of self-expression. Behind the scenes, in the making of Empire Strikes Back for Star Wars, the people who were creating Yoda's puppet, I guess, would ask George Lucas questions like, what color is Yoda's blood? Because that determined how, when he's like backlit, what color would the tips of his ears be? And they'd ask if he's blue-blooded, then his ear tip might be green fading to blue. And if he's like green-blooded, the tips of his ears would be like what I know as is green goblin green, like vivid green. And then with red blood, the tips of his ears would be pink. And you can see that here with the Kunari. It shows that they're red-blooded, even if their skin tone does not fall under the conventional skin tones for creatures of Thedas. Yeah. Okay. Cheeks and jaw, which is where I was earlier. A little gaunt. Yeah. Pronounced. Wait. That note progression reminds me of Dragon Age 2! Is that purposeful? Because that's painful. At one point, a face just becomes a bunch of parts. Individual parts. You lose a sense of like a gestalt point of view, and you're suddenly stuck with seeing things at a certain point where it's hard. Like, what part of the face do I focus on when someone's talking? I don't know. This is the... Whoa, her head looks a little wide at the back, though. And you can see the gap from the shoulders. It's long and flowing. Has a side fade, I think it's called. That's an interesting choice. Maybe to help with rigging. I can kind of see how they compensate, or like they allow the hair to account for horns. I wonder if I adjust her scalp, it might give her more hair. Okay, so the Arashok had very distinct and pronounced horns. I think he also had several branches for his horns. I kind of like these. Oh, wow. I like this crown thing at the back, but if you look on the side, it makes the back of her head look flat. This is more like the Arashok, and then he had several branches coming out of it too. Ooh. The horns are not perfectly symmetrical. I just realized that. I'll choose this one because then it's like it's not perfectly symmetrical because she had this stone thing to like replace the rest of her missing horn, but the density is not one-to-one with her natural horn density. So she had to make that stone a little larger, hence the asymmetry with her horns. I like black. Red for the Kyun. I want her to be a Kunari. Ooh, purple if she was an Antivan Crow, you know. That'd be cool. A little in line with her theme. Ooh, diamond. It might make her too gray though. I want it to be distinct. Like it's obviously an attachment to her horn, not natural. Let's go with blue. Like a warden. Yeah. How does that look? That blue. Oh yeah, okay. So you can still see it even if the lighting is not high. It's not like white lighting, it's a little darker. I want to make her eyebrows look like they're casting a shadow on her face. Black. Subtly blue, like 3% blue. I feel like an artist, when you're creating layers with your art, sometimes you're like, which one's better? 33% or 34% transparency. Like it's like artist struggles. Which one looks better, 98 or 99% transparency? Tell me. Higher saturation. That's too much. I'll make her a Grey Warden, but she doesn't need to have Warden painted all over her face. She's also Kunari. I want to make her Kunari. You know, like her story could be. There's a. I don't want to make her like a Ben Hassereth just because she's a female who can fight. She could be part of the priesthood, except there's a role in the priesthood called Isskari, and their roles, among their responsibilities, is, I guess, collecting or researching magical artifacts. And it could also be, hold on, I want to make this gray. What's a good gray base? This one? It could also be that she's specifically, her role in terms of the priesthood was researching like dwarven structures and artifacts and stuff. So then while she was researching that, she unfortunately got cornered by Darkspawn, and then a passing Grey Warden saved her by allowing her to commit to the joining. And now she has a new role, so she can't call herself Isskari anymore. She'll have to call herself Warden. That's her new job description. And then so she'll have like this kind of identity crisis. She is still fully Kunari. The priesthood is the soul or the spirit of the Kyun society. And in her mind, she knows intellectually that she is definitely a Kunari, and she understands, following that logic, her new role as a warden is her new identity now. Ooh, let's choose something that looks like a Vitar. Actually, I think if she becomes a warden, the Kyun society would not reject her, because technically she's still working for the betterment. She's still existing for the betterment of Kyun society. It's just a different role now. And while the Tamasrens didn't choose it, it's almost like how there's a line in the Kyun about even locusts have a role in nature. And you find suffering when you defy your nature, and that's why the Kyun is so particular about maintaining one's role, like following one's function as nature dictates, because that's where you'll find happiness. You'll find self-fulfillment by excelling at your role. And there's also a line by, ooh, I like this. There's a line that one of the Kunari in Dragon Age 2 say, this one looks more like Vitar, kind of like that. I like that one. There's a role that one of the Kunari say in Dragon Age 2. It's like, it's specifically about mages, or Sarebas, I think. Those who are touched by magic in Kunar society. They have a choice to submit themselves to the Kyun and its wisdom, quote unquote, or you can choose to perish and die. And it's just their way, it follows their philosophy of finding, like, why would you defy your nature or the place that nature dictated for you? Because if nature, there's no better wisdom to be found than in nature, and nature knows best. So trying to do anything outside of that would just bring you suffering. Ooh, this gives her like a scaly look. I like that. Let's make it subtle. Like it blends in with her skin almost. Yeah. Yeah. Not too shiny. Just subtle. I think I can adjust the intensity, so I'll do that. Yeah. So anyway, it makes sense. Actually, her skin's kind of blue, so I need to choose something bluish. Yeah. and then lower the saturation. Whoa, what? Why is it green? So, what is it doing? Why? Why are you like this? So she's an Isskari, or she was, someone who researched Dwarven stuff to bring back to the Qun. And I say this because Bull had several lines in, I think, the Hissing Wastes and Dragon Age Inquisition, where he's like, if my Tamasaran saw these Dwarven ruins, she wouldn't let anyone leave until we counted all the indentations in the stone bricks here. And that makes sense because for the Kunari, in their perspective, like, why would you waste warrior, rogue? I can see priesthood not being a warrior. They'd be more of a rogue type. So let's go with that. And so yeah, so of course the Kunari would care about dwarven structures because they last for forever, and then that means the Kunari society can take advantage of that. They can learn to create structures that last forever. You know, like imagine the progression they can do. I know with ancient Rome, the way they built structures, even when they left Londinium, for a long, long time, people would still, up to medieval times, look back on those Roman structures and marvel, like, the fact that they last this long must mean like giants made them, kind of deal. And that's almost kind of like how dwarven architecture is in Thedas. It's like remnants of an underground world or continent spanning empire where their structures still stand even today, even with the blight and all the destruction that reeks through every age of Thedas. And the Kunari would obviously, especially the priesthood, they would intellectually understand the value in dwarven structures. So Isskari could have been doing that as part of her role until she was made a warden. Surname is Thorn. You know what? Since in the Qun, people aren't born with a name, they're given numbers, and then their name becomes, and then like if they get a name, it's their job description. They use nicknames to refer to each other, and in that way, Isskari, maybe the person who recruited her, the Grey Warden who let her, like, saved her life and let her do the joining, he could try to call her by her nickname. He could be like, so what do I call you? And she'll be like, Warden. He's like, well, I can't call you that. Everyone's a warden. Let me call you something else. What do your friends call you? And she's like, friends? I understand where you're coming from, boss, but my friends called me, like, insert Kunlot word here. And it means like prickly bush or something, because that's how she was. Like, her personality was kind of prickly. And he's like, he'll try his best several times to say it. And eventually he and the other wardens just start calling her Thorn, with an E at the end, and it kind of becomes her like name, her unofficial name. She doesn't really accept it, but she understands the efficiency of being able to be addressed by something aside from Warden, because people in the Grey Warden Order, they're not used to addressing people by just their job description, like she's used to in the priesthood. So they might call her like Warden as her name, which she recognizes as her name, or they'll call her Thorn if they're being like, if they're trying to delineate her from other wardens present. And I think her recruiter could even just call her Thorn, like, affectionately, just to show, and she'll accept it, just to show how close they are, or at least she's closer to her recruiter than others, because she understands not everyone comprehends Qun society. Her culture might turn people off around her, and she needs to work for the betterment of society, so she needs to be able to function as part of the order. So she'll just, be quiet, try not to say too much of what's on her mind, and then she comes off as like standoffish. So she has few friends in the order, and in fact, maybe the one person she considers like a friend, quote unquote, would be her recruiter, who probably knows the most about her because he recruited her, he brought her all the way to, I guess, Weishaupt, and he could be like a chatterbox who gets her to eventually talk back, like respond to his questions, and he probably knows the most about her, and he put in the effort in learning about her. So, Rook is the Grey Warden, an ancient military order sworn to battle Darkspawn and other monsters. The Wardens undergo secret, unbreakable rites that grant them supernatural powers against the dark. Okay. So, let's choose this one. I don't want to look at the other factions until I do like another playthrough. But for now, I like this warden idea I have going for Isskari. When innocent lives were at stake, Rook led the charge, saving a village from a monstrous nightmare no matter the cost to herself. During a large Darkspawn incursion, Rook was ordered to hold the line with other Grey Wardens until reinforcements arrived. Rook argued that by then, villagers under attack would be dead. Oh, you know what? Yes, because she's not coming from an Antam background. She's coming from the priesthood background. And so she's not like, oh, good soldiers follow orders. That's not her Kuhn exposure. Her exposure was to think, to be critical, to analyze. And that translates to her observing dwarven structures and breaking it down, trying to understand what's useful for her, or for the society, like the living body that is society. So I can see her arguing, you know, my job in the Kuhn, in the Wardens, my job is always for the greater good, for the living body that is people. And the villagers are part of that society, of that living body. So her responsibility hasn't changed. Her directive hasn't changed between like going from Kuhn to Grey Warden. So I can see her arguing because she's like, oh, you know, I've always been part of the mind part of the Kuhn, where the Antam act for society, the priesthood thinks for society. So she could argue like, I know, I thought about this, I analyzed it, I need to save the villagers. It doesn't make sense to hold the line. Following orders without analyzing it is something soldiers do, and I'm not a soldier. In my heart, I'm still a priestess. So she disobeyed orders, leading the squad into the incursion and sealing the tunnel to the deep roads. This turned the tide, and the Darkspawn were driven off, which saved the villagers. So mission accomplished. She went in, she did her job, because she calculated the costs too, and that she did the math essentially. Rook's heroism was popular among the younger wardens, but others with connections to noble families resented her independent streak. I can also imagine it's because her being a Kunari, like Kuhn Kunari, could turn them off. Rook chose to step away while tempers cooled. So this could be also like part of her being the seeming standoffish. She's the silent kind just because she knows people cannot understand the Kuhn way fully, not unless they convert, you know. And she's going to step away. She understands. I think the Kunari view the Grey Wardens, especially based on Dragon Age Origins, they view Wardens as a necessity. So that's why Sten in Dragon Age Origins could call the hero Ferelden Kadan. And that's an endearment, whether it's romantic or platonic. And he can call the Warden Kadan because the Grey Wardens are a necessity. And the fact that a female can be a Grey Warden can confuse Sten. He's part of the Antam. But he can still come to care about them deeply enough to consider a Grey Warden Kadan. So I can see how a Kunari, like a Kuhn Kunari, can be part of the Grey Wardens and not have to compromise her beliefs. You know, that might be the background I'm going for Isskari. Let's choose storyteller. I want to focus on the story and the lore. I don't want to think about it. Let's change her name. Isskari Thorn. Technically, her name is Warden. She already disposed the name Isskari. But I'll keep it there just to differentiate any reference to her character specifically.
Time to get to work.
Let's make it lower. I'm American, so I want to use the American voice.
Time to get to work.
Time to get to work.
Time to get to work.
Oh, that's a good voice. She's a woman. I want to use feminine.
Time to get to work.
Okay. Oh, I gotta edit the Inquisitor. Okay, looks good. Elana Lavelin.
I won't let this stand.
Oh, sorry. I used
won't let this stand.
the American voice at one point because I was replaying Inquisition so often. Good. Yes. Okay. She romanced Solus. Actually, my first romance was Cullen, but I want to get closure for Lavelin. Save Solus from himself. Okay. Okay. Finalize? Yes. Alright. Looks good. Isskari Thorn. We already know her name's actually just Warden, but Isskari was her former name. And Thorn is the nickname, the human nickname for a Kunlot word that no one can really pronounce.